Do you know the Swedish word for networking? I'm going to tell you in this episode. I'm Greg. I'm the introverted networker. And in this episode, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I learned regarding networking in Sweden and a little bit about what you should be saying in networking conversations or how you should be navigating those conversations. This past week, I had the opportunity to meet with an individual from Sweden. Actually, she's not from Sweden, she's from Canada. And she told me that she met her husband in Ireland and he's Swedish. So they moved back to Sweden. And her name's Shayna. And Shayna runs a company that was so unique. I had never heard of the idea before. And so I had to hear more about it. But she runs a company that allows people to hire professional wing people. Now, what that means is you can hire her or her company to go send somebody with you to a conference. So let's pretend that you own a company or you have a product or you otherwise want to go to a conference and meet some of the people there. You're really working to try to grow your business, and you think that some of the people who are going to be at the conference are going to be great people to network. But you're really bad with networking. And so you go to the conference and you just are shy and you don't talk to people. Because that's me. Whenever I go to a conference, I'm terrible at this. So I could probably use one of these wing people. But Shayna Harrison started this company where you can hire, again, one of her wing people to go with you. And what they do is they'll walk around the conference with you and they'll actually start up conversations with the people you want to meet. So these people are obviously very outgoing. They're very extroverted and they want to, talk to people. It's not a barrier for them. And so they'll start talking to the person and then introduce you and then you start talking to the person. So it's a way to basically outsource your connecting at in-person events. I'd never heard this before. And it was such an interesting conversation. And it started because Shayna had reached out to me on LinkedIn. She had said, "Hey, I follow what you do. I would love to talk to you and get to know you better." So we set up a time to talk. And it was really interesting conversation. But what was interesting about it was when she set it up and she sent me the invite, it said, "We're going to have a fika, Fika. So fika is the Swedish word for a networking coffee meeting. It's a time when you sit down with another person and you talk to them and you just talk about who you are and what you do." And I thought it was really interesting that there's a specific word in the Swedish language that is around this concept of having a conversation with a person. It's not really the same word as networking. At least I don't think it is. I think it's a different word. It's not the English word. It's not the Swedish word for networking, but it's this different concept. And I really love it because I'm always on the lookout for a better word than networking. I hate how networking has such a negative connotation that when people hear that word, they immediately like tense up and they feel like it's something they don't want to do. It's something they feel like they know they need to do, but they don't want to do it. But this idea that you're going to get together with someone and just talk, no agenda, no pitching, no preconceived notions. You're just going to get together with somebody and talk and get to know them. Was something I really enjoyed, and I like the idea. I love the conversation. I love Shayna's concept. Of course, I'll link to this in the newsletter. If you are somebody out there who says, "I really need to go to a conference and make a lot of connections, and that would be valuable to me," and you're think you want to invest in a wing person to come to the conference with you, you should totally check it out. So again, Shayna Harrison taught me all about Fika this week, and taught me a lot about Sweden. And Sweden's been coming up a bunch in the last few weeks for me. I have a niece who's actually moving to Sweden to study, or not study, to work. She has a work project in a lab in Sweden. So we were joking, Shane and I, that now I know two people that are going to be in Sweden. So I'll have to make a trip there sometime in the near future. And so as the week went along, I started off with this great conversation. And I do, even though I'm introverted, when I have conversations with people where I learn something new and I really kind of opens my mind, I feel really excited by it. And I know as an introvert, it does take a lot of energy from me. When I talk to people, my sort of social battery goes down. But sometimes you have those conversations that you get excited about things. So I really wanted to share this concept of the wing person. I want to share the concept of the Fika with all of you. And so what you should take from that is, as you think about going out and networking, as you think about what that might look like, think about it as a one-on-one conversation. And of course, we did this virtually, right? I'm not in Sweden. She's not in Denver. So we did this virtually, and you can do this virtually too. You can have virtual coffee with somebody. You don't have to meet somebody in person necessarily. I mean, even if they live in the same town. I mean, I meet with people who live in Denver all the time, and we do it virtually because driving to a coffee shop, sitting down, having that conversation, it's difficult to do that sometimes with the time. I mean, if I can do it and I do have the time, I try to meet with people in person. But especially with people in other cities, why should I limit my network to just people in my city? So I will have conversations all the time where we're just getting together to talk about what the other person does, what I do, how we can help each other, to have this fika. And as I think about this, one of the things that always comes up when people are thinking about these conversations is they start to get anxiety around, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to talk about with this person? Like, what do I have to say? Should I script it out? Should I have all these things to say? And I say, no, don't. Go into this conversation with this mindset that you're going to be curious about the other person. You're basically trying to learn about the other person. Don't focus all on what you need to say. Focus more on what you're going to ask the other person. What questions will you ask them? And I always tell people to ask people about their favorite topic. And when people say to me, well, I don't know what their favorite topic is, how would I know that? I say, of course you do. It's the same topic. Everybody has the same favorite topic. It's the one they know the most about. It's themselves. Everybody's favorite topic is themselves. Now, that sounds kind of selfish. It sounds kind of narcissistic, but it's not. We are comfortable talking about ourselves because it's the thing we know the most about. And I was reminded of this week in my improv class. We were talking about emotions, but we did an exercise where 4 people stood on stage, and the instructor pointed at each one of us and said, tell me a topic tell me about something you love. So it can be anything. It could be your pets. It can be your family. It could be your car. It could be anything, but what's something you really, really love? And then he said, I'm going to point to you and you just start talking. And then I'm going to point to somebody else and you stop and that person's going to start. And then I'll point to somebody else and this person will stop and start. And the 4 people, we all got up there. We all had different topics. And he pointed at the first person and they just started talking. And then he pointed at me and I started talking. And he went down the row and then he started mixing it up. And the point was that you just have to start talking when it's your turn. And so it's just an exercise to get you talking. But what you saw was nobody in the entire class, when it was their turn to start talking, had any problem starting to talk about themselves. A lot of times in the improv, and this is a beginner class. I mean, we are all people that have never done improv before. So a lot of times when we're doing exercises, somebody will start, it will be their turn to talk or it will be their part in the scene. And they'll pause, they'll hesitate. They're trying to think of what to say. And that's normal. That happens all the time. That's why we're there. We're there to get better at being more spontaneous, more improvisational. That's the point of taking the class. But when it came to talking about ourselves, none of us hesitated. We jumped right into that topic and we could talk for minutes, if not more, about ourselves. It was and when we were done, we always talk about the exercises. When we were done, most people agreed, and I think everybody agreed, but we went around and people actually said that was the easiest exercise we've ever done. And it's because we talked about ourselves. And what was really interesting about it was after we were done, we had a break. And on the breaks, a lot of times people go get their phones and they just kind of hang out. Nobody really talks. But after this exercise, on this break, people sort of coalesced in these small little groups and started asking people, hey, tell me more about your car. Tell me more about your pets. Tell me more about the shows that you watch. And we just had these natural conversations because people had started talking about themselves. People love to talk about themselves because they know it's comfortable. And there's even research on this. There was a study done back in 2013, and I read about it in Scientific American, and I'll link to it in the newsletter. And it was actually part of one of the first newsletters I wrote, that they did brain scans on people, the fMRIs, and they looked at areas of the brain. And when people talked about themselves, the areas of their brain that lit up were the ones associated with rewards and pleasure. The same areas of the brain that light up when people are thinking about pleasurable experiences like sex, or even when people do cocaine, this area of the brain lights up. So it's this area of the brain associated with rewards. And our brains light up when we start talking about ourselves, because it's like a reward for ourselves. Like we feel good when we talk about ourselves. And when you feel good about doing something, you want to do it more. You do it more. So as people talk about themselves, they want to talk more. So that's why I always say, ask people about themselves and let people talk. Now, some people will say to me, okay, Greg, that's great. I'll ask them about themselves. But what if they just turn around and ask me about myself? Fine. Start talking about yourself, but talk about the things you know. Talk about, what are you working on? What are you struggling with? What are you challenged with? Or what do you really love? Or what's something that was really exciting for you this week? Or what's something that you're looking forward to? Just start talking about yourself, and you're going to find it gets really easy, because instead of thinking about like I need to script something, I need to come up with this perfect pitch, just start talking about yourself, because you're going to feel good. And as you feel good, you're going to want to do more of it. And as you start talking, the other person's going to ask you questions. So it goes both ways. People have told me, like, what if you get two people that just want to listen and nobody really wants to talk? Okay. Eventually people are going to talk, and just start talking about yourself, or ask them about themselves, or talk about yourself a little and say, hey, that's enough about me. I really want to hear more about you. Be a little bit sort of, conscious that you're not the only one talking. Okay. So I always tell people, ask other people first and listen, because I think when you listen to people, you can start to hone in on things you can give to them and ways you can help them. And when you do that, then they're really, number one, they talked about themselves, they feel good. Number two, you gave them something. Now they're really feeling good about you. And then three, they just want to reciprocate and do the same. So they're either going to turn around and be like, okay, stop talking about me. I want to hear about you. So I always tell people to start with asking the question. But if you get into that and you've asked them questions and they turn around and you, don't be afraid to talk about yourself. And know, just like in improv, like in this study with the brain scans, you're going to have no problem talking about yourself. You know exactly what to talk about when you talk about yourself. So hopefully that helps you out. I think these two kind of things went a little bit together this week, with the idea of Fika being at the networking coffee conversational meeting, where you're going to sit down and just have a conversation about who you are. And then seeing this happen in the improv class, where people talking about themselves was just so easy. So when you're out there networking, don't stress over, there's got to be some script. There's got to be some, words that you use. There's this perfect way to approach it. Just try to be yourself. Ask the other person about themselves, talk about yourself, make it a little bit more natural, and just try to grow a little bit of a relationship from there. So hopefully that helps you this week. Go out, try it out, have a Swedish Fika this week, set one of those up, and check out Shana Harrison's profile. Check out her service. It's awesome. So original. I've never even heard of it before. So get out there, meet some interesting people. Remember, always be connecting.